Good afternoon once again. We will continue with our discussion in Venturi meter. The last time we I showed to you the derivation, or how did we come up with the equation in order to solve for the velocity in the Venturi meter. But last time the Venturi meter was horizontal, so that we cancel out Z1 and Z2. Okay. Maklaro na mo sa yellow. This one, klaro na siguro. Z1, Z2. So we can, for horizontal, we can cancel out Z1 and Z2 in the left and right equation because they are just equal. But this time, we have an inclined, or it can be vertical or inclined pipe. The point is, elevation of Z1 or elevation of point 1 and point 2 are not the same. So we cannot cancel out Z1 and Z2. So again, same on the previous derivation. We'll start with casting the Bernoulli's energy equation between point 1 and point 2. Okay, the total energy, or the sum of the energy, point 1 and point 2. It's the pressure head, the elevation, velocity head, and the elevation head. Sorry, that's point 2. Okay, so next is rearranging the equation in such a way that we can extract the value of the velocity. So P1 minus P2, will transfer the P2 to the left, so that's why it becomes negative. And also we can cancel out, or we can transfer Z2 since we cannot cancel out Z1 and Z2 anymore, so we can include Z1 and Z2 to the equation. Then on the right side, we have the velocity. Alright. So again, expressing the velocity in terms of area, or area expressing V1 in terms of V2. So again, just like our previous equation, we can say that V1 is equal to N V2. So squaring the two, so we have V1 square N square, then V2 square. Okay, substituting V1 in terms of N squared, I think na ay wrong sa atong equation. Hindi siya, this one should be V1, right one should be V2. Sakto ba? No. I think sakto man. Sakto din siya. V2 minus, sakto na din. V2 minus V1. Sorry, so substituting V1 just like here, just like this equation here, we substituted V2 in terms of V1. I think na wrong diri. This one should be just like in our previous equation or derivation, V2 is A1 over A2. So this one should be V2, and this one should be V1. Actually, it's okay to interchange. Pwede naman na to balihon. We can express V1 in terms of V2, but ang atong N mabali pod. For example, I don't know. For example, if we will express V1 in terms of V2, di ba? It's A1 man siya, and V1, A2, V2. If you will express V1 in terms of V2, it's okay, pwede naman. V1 is A2 over A1 times V2. Actually, same naman siya og result, but ang nakalahi lang is ang atong N is mabalipod. Our N would be D2 square over D1 square. So, mana siya if we're going to express V1 in terms of V2. Kinigod siya nga value. Kini nga ang value of N for this one is less than 1. Ang N ani niya, if we express V1 in terms of V2, the N would be less than 1 because D2 is smaller than D1, right? So, mag-decimal siya. Then, ato pa siyang square. On the left side, if we express V2 in terms of V1, the value of our N is more than 1 because D1 is greater than V2, then ato pa siyang square. So, it's more than 1. So, if we express V1 and V2, it's no problem. We'll still get the same answer. Later on, same magyapon na siya o discharge. So, we'll just follow this one since we used this one in our previous equation para di mo maglibog. But it's okay ha, if you can find in other books, lain nga libro na ay mga reviewers, lahi-lahi na siya, na ay reviewer sa V1 in terms of V2, ang other reviewer V2 in terms of V1, other books, bali-bali. But either way, same na siya ang answer. So, expressing V2 in terms of V1, so we can substitute this equation. You can substitute this equation by this equation. So, continuing our equation, P1 minus P2 over unit weight plus Z1 minus Z2. Okay. And then, expressing V2 in terms of V1, so we have N squared V1 squared minus V1 squared over 2G. So we can factor out the V1. N squared minus 1 over 2G. P1 minus P2. Okay, so in this way we can extract V1. So V1 is P1 minus P2 gamma plus Z1 minus Z2, the entire thing. By the way, basit malipat mo, this one, entire thing should be okay, same thing also here. This time we will include Z1 minus Z2 multiplied by 2G. It will be multiplied by 2G over N squared minus 1. then square root. Now, if you will express V1 in terms of ito, pareha diri, like diri, mahitaboan ni kini nga term sa ubos, di ba? Ana man ano, n squared minus 1. Ang mahitaboan na it will become, if we will use this one, this relationship, mahitaboan na it's 1 minus n squared. Because n, as I've said, n is less than 1. So, na siya. Here, it's n squared minus 1 because n here is greater than 1. Okay? So, in another video, we will solve some examples. Solving examples on how to determine the P1, the term P1 minus P2 using a manometer. Usually, in most problems, board exam problems, in almost all problems, P1 minus P2 or the delta P, difference in P1 minus P2 is determined using a manometer. It can be a differential manometer, or sometimes it's open manometer, piezometer. So that's where the manometer comes in the fluid flow measuring device. Okay, so I will end this video I will cut this video. Okay, it's kuan man daw. It's advisable that the video anyway, that the video is not more than 30 minutes or 1 hour. Ako lang siyang putol-putolan. Okay? So, thank you. Thank you for your attention.